applause, please. Oh, nice. Excellent. Okay, thank you, thank you. This is a really important track, and I'm really happy to making part of that, and want to say thank you for everyone that is here tonight. And please, would like to invite our friends to come to the stage. That is Rosanna, Jorge, and Angela. Everyone from the Global South. So, the reason for this talk and this discussion, we'll try to do it in a mixture of presentation with more space so people in this audience can make some questions. But the main reason of this talk is about this new report from the World Socio-Economic Forum, not Social Economic Forum, that says that more than 7 million jobs will be changing in the last 7 or 10 years, and especially because most of these jobs, 2.5 million, will have this real dance in the Global South, with the youngsters getting to the new market. So in this panel, we'd like to discuss what is happening in a local, in a regional, in a more continental level on issues and in practices that can maybe try to change a little bit the scenario or to make it a little bit happier for so many people in the globe. So first of all, I would like Rosanna to go there and make a presentation, and especially to show us what are the most challenging stuffs in the local level. Please. What a nice voice, isn't it? It's a microphone. Thank you very much.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Oh, good afternoon, rather. My name is Rosanna Lopez. I'm the founder and CEO of Sparkle Lab Design and Innovation Hub. It's a research and development space based in Manila where we explore what the future of learning is and how we can equip young people for success in the 21st century and for jobs of tomorrow. So I begin my talk with a little story by Roger Schenck. And it starts, like most stories do, once upon a time. So once upon a time, there was a kingdom that was overrun with dragons. People were terrorized by the dragons, so they decided to build a new curriculum in their finest university to train young warriors in the art of dragon slaying. Now, the university they selected had a faculty that knew many different things that would be of potential use to a dragon slayer. So the faculty met and formed the curriculum committee to establish a master's degree in dragon slaying. Surely, from such an erudite group, the best and the brightest could instruct those who wish to learn how to slay the dragon. This is what the curriculum looked like. Everyone agreed that each faculty member had something important to contribute. The business faculty were concerned that the potential dragon slayers understand how to finance a dragon slaying expedition and know how to create a business plan to market the story and lessons derived from a successful voyage. The engineering faculty wanted to make sure that the student warrior would know how to read maps, build bridges where needed, and launch missiles. The humanities faculty realized that dragons could be reasoned with and proposed a course in how to speak Dragonese, and so on and so forth. Now, the faculty was very proud of this curriculum, and they agreed it was well-balanced and covered everything a student would need to know. A student body of 20 was recruited. They all graduated 2 years later with high honors, and then they went out to slay dragons. 3 of them failed to win funding for their expedition, and they went into other fields. 5 of the remaining formed a dragon slaying team, but they had great difficulty getting along with each other. One of the members killed another one, and then the rest killed him. The other 3 ran away and were never heard from again. The remaining 12 were more successful. They formed 3 teams of 4, were well-financed, got along well with each other. Unfortunately, the first of those teams could never find a dragon to slay, although they did spend a lot of time looking. The second team did indeed meet a dragon. Unfortunately, this was because the dragon found them first. They tried to reason with the dragon, but only one of them could remember how to speak Dragonese. And since it was this very student who failed in the art of negotiation, he succeeded in annoying the dragon greatly by demanding that he not breathe fire while they negotiated. The dragon ate all 4 members of the team. The third team did not fare much better either. They never had the opportunity to fight a dragon before, and the dragon was much faster in the real world, and its flame much hotter than any of them had anticipated. The dragon killed 2, and the other 2 members of the team had no idea how to engage in battle. As such, they negotiated a truce and are now doing public relations for the dragon. The end. This might sound like the way a lot of young students, young people are learning nowadays, with a curriculum that is so disconnected to their interests and needs and to the needs of society. Indeed, when you look at the state of global education, you realize that while the world has changed, education has not. And it no longer prepares kids for success in the 21st century. When I think about the future of work for young people in the Global South, I always think about education and of building capacity. Before, in an industrial economy, most people had a lifelong career in one industry. In today's world, everything is changing so quickly that people need to be lifelong learners, problem solvers, and innovators. On average, people have 4 different careers nowadays. If before, education was about rote memorization and taking tests, where students obtain qualifications, today, we need creative thinkers, visionaries, and innovators. I wonder how many schools of ours actually prepare students for this fast-changing world. Mitch Resnick, who's the director of the Lifelong Kindergarten Group at MIT Media Lab, talks about how, when, for instance, students graduate, by the time they graduate, a lot of the skills they've learned would be rendered obsolete. And as such, he posits that to thrive, young people must learn to design innovative solutions to unexpected problems. There's success and satisfaction, and I like the focus on satisfaction and happiness, because in a lot of talks about equipping young people with skills for the future workforce, people tend to have a very human capitalist view of this topic and think it is only for work. But we also deem important satisfaction and happiness of people. So the success and satisfaction of young people will be based on their ability to think and act creatively. Knowledge alone is not enough. They must learn how to use their knowledge creatively. In Manila, I run a Sparkle Lab, which, as I mentioned earlier, is a research and development space. We focus on innovation in education, and we are able to do this because we traffic in the non-formal education sector. So we are not a school, but rather offer enrichment programs during the summer and after school, but also by helping schools create maker spaces and use technology and learning. Now, at the lab, the vision is really to imagine how individuals and communities can learn and what engagement would look like using play, human-centered design, and technology. These are some of the works of the kids over the years, which ranges from creating cardboard versions of R2-D2 that actually has a motion sensor, and he turns his head and starts talking when someone passes by, to 3D modeling, 3D printing, creating speakers. There's a little metal detector over here, and a creeper that watches you as you cross the street. Now, when we create these playful learning experiences in the context of after-school education and summer enrichment programs, we do so in a variety of areas, from game design and development to soft circuits, e-textiles, and wearable technology, as well as design engineering and interactive storytelling. And what we notice is that it's remarkable. Kids don't really walk into Sparkle Lab. We see that they run in. And the moment they run in, they ditch their shoes by the front door, and they're so engaged. And it's actually very beautiful to see. The challenge then is how to translate something like this into a formal school setting so that we can actually scale our work and have all kids love learning. Aside from face-to-face contact, which I think is really important, we do have an online portal where students can access our content anytime, anywhere, learn on demand, learn in a playground and interact in the playground, at the grocery store, at a bus stop, even in school. All the learning is gamified and playful. And I think one really important part is a community of practice where kids can share their work and comment on the works of others and even collaborate on projects. Now, when you talk about skills for the future of young people, the framework that we have at Sparkle Lab is yes, we do realize that there is important domain-specific knowledge and skills in the areas of science, technology, mathematics, engineering, anthropology, the arts, and humanities. So when you think about this, they learn about, for example, the history of fashion, and they learn how to sew. They'll learn about the principles of electricity or magnetism and solder their own simple circuits and put their own speakers together. So knowledge and skills on the one hand. But more importantly, our legacy to young people to make them successful in the work of the future is by helping them develop attitudes and dispositions which we believe are integral to success. Things like being able to imagine possibility, to not be satisfied with the way the world is, but rather to think differently of how it could be, to experiment, to not be afraid to fail, but rather look at failure as an opportunity to learn, to be able to work together in teams, to collaborate and share their work with others, and also to use the principles of human-centered design. So, to take a deep dive into the type of learning we do, as I said, it's really playful. So you meet a cast of characters who help you engage on quests and skill-building missions. So you learn how to, for example, create games or design an experience. And I think the game-based learning is important because it does give young people a motivation to learn. I believe that learning, if it's to be relevant to children, has to be an experience of wonder and of delight, because we only truly retain what we learn with joy. And for them to be able to succeed in their careers and be happy and receive that kind of satisfaction, learning has to be joyful. More examples of game-based learning. So it might be a small little package that arrives on your doorstep with a certain mission to create a game. You might be able to play games or work with others. Now, the learning is also personalized. And I think one thing that's important for young people and the work they do in the future is to be able to explore what their interests are at a young age so that they can pursue their passions and later purposefully use what they're passionate about and combine it with skills to be able to contribute meaningfully to society. Meaning, collaboration, relevance. So a lot of the projects are student-led, and we always encourage young people to create work that is especially relevant to the issues that their community is facing. There have been a lot of different reports on the state of the global workplace. And a few of the things we know, for instance, is that, in general, those who are employed lead much happier lives than those who are unemployed. So we do want young people to be able to enter the workforce. But aside from just entering the workforce, we want them to be able to love their work and contribute to it meaningfully. Unfortunately, worldwide, only 13% of employees are engaged at work. This is quite sad. How many of you would consider yourselves fully engaged at work? So you're part of the 13%. Congratulations. But it's actually mind-blowing to think that the 7 workers, so 1 person in 8, are psychologically committed to their jobs and likely to be making positive contributions to society. The other 7 are not satisfied, they're not happy. And I think this is very problematic indeed. People spend so much time, so much of their waking time at work. And the quality of our workplace experience definitely affects the overall quality of our life. So when I think of young people and work, I think of equipping them with skills and attitudes that are needed. I believe that the future of work is imagination. To be able to imagine possibility, be in a state of wonder and awe at the world around you, to have the ability to dream up innovations that improve the human condition, and be empowered with the skills and dispositions needed to forge these dreams into reality. I believe that the future of work is creativity, an ability to think differently, and contrary to popular belief, creativity is actually hard work. It's not that flash of insight that suddenly comes upon you. It is based on a firm grasp of domain knowledge and skills combined with divergent thinking. I think the future of work is also collaborative, having a diverse group of people coming together, taking on different roles. So we teach the kids, I'm a designer, I'm a storyteller, I'm a producer, I'm a scientist, I'm an artist, I'm an engineer. But collaboration is more than that. It is respecting difference and celebrating diversity. During an interview, Melanie Weiss, the founder and CEO of Fetch Robotics, stated that the gains of technology...
I would ask you to be a little quicker because we have more people to talk about it.
I have 2 minutes left.
Go for it.
Okay. The founder and CEO of Fetch Robotics stated that the gains of technology should increase productivity and not cut the workforce. And if people do lose jobs, they should be given the opportunity to develop new skills. I'm hoping that as increased automation, the rise of AI and machine learning replaces jobs in, say, the legal sector, accounting, manufacturing, production, I wonder what the surplus of time in our hands will bring. Will we as a society be enabled to engage in higher order thinking? Will we use this opportunity to build capacity and harness human potential? Will it allow individuals to pursue their interests, realize their passions, and dedicate their lives to meaningful endeavors that somehow uplift the human condition? As machines build roads and bridges and provide the infrastructure to connect cities, will we take it upon ourselves then to build compassionate and connected communities? Thank you.
All right. Just one question before George can start his presentation. I would like to ask you, how many students took part in your initiative?
And the initiative, well, at the center, about 300 families. At the national level, about 4,000.
Nice, nice. Thank you very much. George, please.
Hi.
Can you present yourself some of your thoughts?
Sure.
We'll be really grateful.
Sure.
George is from Ghana, and he can present better his work now.
All right. Okay. So thanks everyone. Thanks, Ricardo. My name is Jorge Appiah, and I'm from Ghana. And I'm here to talk about this initiative that we are working on, which we call the Future Workforce Initiative for Africa. I am the co-founder and the CEO of an organization called Kumasi Hive, which is a tech innovation hub. So as Kumasi Hive, what we do is to provide skills and provide a platform for young innovators to turn ideas into innovation and then help them take it to the markets as a way of carrying sustainable solutions to the community. So we recognize the role that business has to play in carrying solutions to the people. So when we come to our space, we have a maker space, we have an event space where we have community events, we have a working space, we have training space where we do a lot of training programs for the people that we work with. So the next time you come to Ghana, make sure you come around. So a lot of people don't know where Ghana is, maybe, but just to be safe, I decided to show where Ghana is. So Ghana is in the continent of Africa, in the western of a part of Africa. I give a good image on that. And also, Kumasi is in the middle of Ghana. So a lot of people know about Accra if they know Ghana, but some people might not know of Kumasi. So I decided to show that briefly. So this is how our story started. We started about 8 years ago as a student community in a university. So it came out of a need where we recognized that after spending 2 years in the university, we had good grades, but we didn't know anything we didn't have any practical knowledge of whatever we are learning. So I studied to be electrical engineering for my undergrad degree, and I feel that I couldn't do anything after 2 years. So I spoke to a couple of friends, and they have the same concern. So it's like, okay, instead of talking about it, why don't we come together and work towards something? So we formed a community, and that grew to become a very successful community. We were able to spread it from 1 university to 5 public universities across the nation. Currently, it has a membership of 300 across the nation, and it has graduated over 1,500 students over the past years. So what we do at this stage is to equip the students with technical skills, with practical skills, if I should put that way, as a step to whatever journey that they would like to take. So after working for a period of time, we came to recognize that we have got a number of innovations, and then the innovation were just sitting down there, and this is what took us back to starting Kumasi Hive. So we started Kumasi Hive itself about 3 years ago to serve as a localized resource sharing point for all our community that we have built. So this is a place where you can get to use all the advanced machines and tools for whatever you're working on. We wanted to give the platform for rapid prototyping. We wanted to create a point for business support to help carry the innovation to the community, which we saw then was a gap. And a lot of our students were graduating from schools with wonderful ideas, wonderful innovation, but they were struggling to get jobs. So we set up the hub to help address these issues. So currently, what we are doing at the Hive is to pushing for this initiative, which we call the Future Workforce Initiative for Africa. And the whole idea is rethinking skills acquisition. All right? We know the issue that we are facing when it comes to job for the youth and also the job for the future. We in Africa, we tend to have a peculiar need. Why? Because we have the largest youth base in the world. We have the youngest population, and it's projected to grow over the years to come. Right? But the biggest challenge that we face on our continent is job. A lot of youth are not getting jobs. Even graduates, after 10 years, a survey came out that after school, only 10% of graduates get jobs after school. And it takes about 10 years for almost every graduate to get a job. And that can happen in a nation that is trying to develop. Right? It can't happen in a nation that is doesn't have much to support in terms of social support. And it's leading to a lot of troubles and a lot of problems for us, and especially looking at our population is just projected to grow. So with this initiative, what we do is we focus on areas that helps to address this. So we have what we call the academy. We have what we call the Female Makers Initiative, and we have an initiative where we call Rethinking Technical and Vocational Education with Digital Manufacturing. So I'll spend time to talk about this thing briefly. So basically, this tends to be our approach when it comes to the training program. We started with the skills training. We build their capacity for them to think critically using a design thinking approach, where we give them real-life, real-time situation for them to go in with this knowledge, with their skills and their thinking, to try and solve problems that they face in the community. And when they do this, they prototype these ideas that they will come out from the design thinking, and then we provide incubation and internship support. So there are some that come up with very, very good ideas. We provide them both technical and business support, and there are some too that get the skills that they are able to get internship placement with existing companies. So for the academy, we basically, people sign up through our platform. We also have materials also on platform. This is make it easy for people not to just be in the classroom or not to be in the training room for them to learn, but also remotely they can access our materials and work. So our target group is the final year students. We deal with recent graduates and also unemployed graduates. At the same time, we have currently in the 2 years of this initiative, we have worked with about 100 students. Some of our codes, we will look at AR, we look at IoT, we also look at Internet of Things. It's a span. We look at, we have a code school that look at the different type of web technologies and mobile technologies, right? And if we have, for our Female Makers Initiative, which we also call the Bridging the Gap. So we realized something after working over 8 years in trying to give skills to the youth. There's the environment that we created. It was just enabling a lot of the, let's say, the male gender, but the female gender were not really taking much of the opportunities being available. But there were some that make the effort to be part of the mainstream. So what we did was to have an initiative just focus on ladies and women, because that's one of the biggest issues too that we face when we come to the digital gap on the continent too. So with this initiative, we look at these ladies in the same category. We currently have trained over 500 students in the last 2 years. We have some cohorts in web development, IoT ladies, and also we have AI ladies. So these are some of the classes that these ladies have been taking in. And then we have we're taking the technical and vocational training. The reason why we are doing this is that we realize that whilst the university has its challenge of graduating a lot of students that don't get jobs, it is relatively easy for them to find new jobs or move to a different career. So you can find an engineering student moving to a financial sector and all that. But one of the biggest areas was technical and vocational training, which produced a huge amount of the youth. And this struggle to even diverse from their field. And we know the manufacturing sector is changing. There's a lot of CNC machines, 3D printing and all that at these factories now. But these guys are still using the old curriculum. So the idea was to rethink it and then bring in that sector of what we call digital manufacturing. So skills that enable them to fit it in the 21st century industrial economy. So this is what we are doing. We have partnership with a number of technical universities, a number of vocational schools across the country. So I just want to give a quick overview of our ecosystem as we see it. So basically, before we develop a curriculum, we work with industrial partners so that we're able to develop curriculum that speaks to the needs of the job market and also have an input that makes our curriculum more relevant. And then we have a number of training partners as we also do the training, but we have partners like universities, technical universities, polytechnics, technical schools, even other tech hubs that we run our program with. So we give our curriculum and they use that. Then the digital skills that we provide. And then after every training, we give a platform for the ideas to be tested. This is where our design thinking and the hackathons and competition comes in. So they practice whatever they are learning in solving problems. Then those ideas that comes out, we give them seed funding. We provide technical incubation and business incubation. We're able to connect some of them to early investors, also provide networking opportunities, and then we have an online platform that helps us to reach a lot. So this forms our ecosystem. We have a number of specialized labs that we look at developing these training curriculums and also assisting in providing technical expertise into those that develop these solutions in around these areas. So what is the output after doing all this? So some of the things that comes out after this work is mostly we get some of the trained youth starting their own business, having a startup. Some also get internship opportunities in the industries. Because we start working with the industry from day one, they are able to accept some of our interns to come and work with them because they have the skills that they need. Some also go to freelancers. Some also then get jobs as full-time employees. And I just want to highlight some few startups that have come out of what we are doing. So one of the startups is called Desk Technologies. They provide what we call Desk Mindset. So if you get opportunity to go to the gig makerspace indoors, outside, you get to see some of their science sets over there. And they are providing what we call a science lab in a box. So in Africa, one of our biggest challenges is resources. And with science, we're supposed to be a practical course. Over the years, has been taught as a theory course. So a lot of people graduate, they learn so much, but they don't know anything about practical science. Only about 2% schools have science labs in their schools. So what they are doing is, okay, can we put a science lab in a box in a way that can be afforded by everyone? So they do this thing, and then they make it available at a very low price. So every student is able to afford it. They use it during the main class sessions. The teachers and everyone is using it, so they're able to cope with the practical part of it. But when they close to, because they own the lab, when they go back to the house, they keep on practicing. And I think that's what education should be. We have one that look at robotics by using low-cost materials in building. It's a kind of, let's say, your kind of logo for robotics. But this time around, they're using very cheap materials. So we find a lot of kids want to learn robotics, but they can't afford maybe something like a Lego Mindstorm, right? Around $400 they can't afford. So with this, which is about 10% of that cost, they're able to afford this, and then they begin to learn robotics, which is super amazing. We have one that looking at building drones from using e-waste and for a number of applications. There's what we call the smart condom vending machine to help address issues of assessing reproductive health services. Because in Africa, we have a lot of issues of culture and religious. It hindered the provision of reproductive services to the youth, whilst the youths are facing a huge problem of teenage pregnancy and STDs. So they are addressing that with their smart vending machine. We have a startup that is into recycling e-waste. So they use what we call a copper stripping machine. And in Ghana, for instance, we don't have a recycling plant. So the channel for every electronic product terminates with small-scale recyclers who use crude methods in recycling, so like burning. In Ghana, unfortunately, we have the largest toxic e-waste site on the continent. So he is working with startup to address that. And then we have one startup that uses 3D printing in providing 3D printers to schools. But what they do is they recycle this 3D parts of this 3D print from e-waste to make it very affordable. This costs like about 20% of what you get the original cost on the market. And then we have one startup that provide educational resources in rural settings by providing what we call an offline internet. So they are able to mobilize resources and then provide it in a device which creates a local network for rural areas for them to access educational materials. Right. So this brings the end of my presentation.
Lucky of you, because I was about to cut you again.
Okay. So just to summarize it out, yes, as I was saying, that Africa faces one of the biggest challenges when it comes to what the future will hold for jobs in the future, right? Because currently we don't even have jobs for our youth. The digital economy, the globalization and all that is taking a lot of jobs away from Africa, right? We can't go the way, it's not possible that we can go the way that China went to lift a huge number of their population from poverty. I don't think we can go to the second and the third industrial revolution as happened in Europe and in other parts of the world. Right. So our chance now is getting into the fourth industry and still maintaining the ability to create jobs for our growing youth. And with this, we hope that with what we are doing and with all the other people are doing on the continent, we are able to create jobs for the today and for the tomorrow. Thank you.
Excellent the way you finish it. In the meanwhile, while Angela will set up her presentation with the help of Karina, I would like to make you one question that has a lot of things related to what you ask.
Okay.
Do you think this training guarantee youth jobs, or do you think it create a new market? Just like we've been watching these last panels, a market without unions, without rights, without... what do you think about it?
Yeah, well, yeah, it does create jobs because, first of all, you give them an opportunity for them to have the skills to do something. So most of the times you find out that a lot of the youth have ideas that they would like to solve, but they don't have the skills. And that becomes the biggest challenge. So when you give them the skills, and now when they see a problem, they begin to think about what can I do with my skills. Right? So I think it's the foundation to addressing, creating jobs and creating businesses and addressing this challenge in all.
All right, thank you very much. Please, I would like everyone to pay a little bit more of attention on Angela's presentation. Please, Angela.
Okay, so thank you very much for coming. I know it's been maybe a long day, and I'm the last one, so they gave me the biggest challenge here. So today, I'm Angela Aguilera. I'm from Colombia. I've been working for more than 10 years in education, innovation in Latin America and the Caribbean. And today what I want to show you is two experiences in Latin America and the Caribbean that I think are really worth it to take a look at, and they're related with how to develop youth skills for the future of work. So welcome again, and I think that these two experiences that I'm gonna show you today have helped me, and I hope also you, and I'm sure that the participants of these spaces and trainings have helped them to dream how to make meaning more than how to make money, and have also helped them to jump to the next curve, which is how innovation is more impactful when it makes more meaning and it brings more benefit to the communities than exactly about what they do. So in Latin America, this is Latin America's context. So we have 42% of youth living in vulnerable communities, so they are either at risk or at risk of falling back into poverty. We have 21% not working, studying, or in training, and 2/3 of youth in Latin America and the Caribbean are not equipped with advanced technical, professional, and management skills. So what is innovation? Innovation is one of the skills that all reports and all the labs and these initiatives try to develop. So for me, innovation and the magic of innovation is adding value, not just disrupting. And when I think of social innovation, I think on how to bring communities' needs to the center of the solution beyond individual needs. So that's what these two initiatives that I'm going to show you are actually working on. How to develop skills in youth so they can spark their changes, and how they can become changes, and also how to make innovation and change sustainable. So some examples I know. The first one is the DIA network, which is democratizing innovation in the Americas. This is an initiative of the Trust of the Americas. Trust for the Americas is an NGO based in DC, but they implement different initiatives in Latin America and the Caribbean. They are affiliated to the OAS, and right now they have a network of 3 innovation labs. One is based in Mexico and is focused on innovations for people with disabilities. The second one is based in Jamaica and is focused on how to solve and innovate for urban challenges. And the third one will be in Colombia and will be focused on peace and reconciliation. So this is a really interesting network of labs that I've been collaborating with for the past year. And I think that what is really disruptive or original or innovative here is that each lab has a focus on a topic. So how should we be looking at young people in development? Sometimes efforts, and frequently I think, position youth as beneficiaries or recipients. I want to show you a video of one of the labs in Jamaica that show you how these youth, these young people, have become agents of change.
That generates value. Today, it goes far beyond creating technology that makes life simpler. It also speaks to how these...
It's okay.
Innovation.
It's not going to work. It's OK. Don't worry. I wanted to show you this video because sometimes when we speak here, it's not the same as hearing the beneficiaries or the youth speaking by themselves. But it's OK. So we're going to move to the next project that I want to show you, and it is based in Costa Rica. It's called Conversable, and it is a transformational movement that facilitates the tools and the practice of nonviolent communication. So for those of you who are not familiarized with the NVC, it was started by Dr. Marshall Rosenberg, and basically what the nonviolent communication methodology does is transform like from a language of conflict into a language of connection. So they have like the jackal and the giraffe language, and the giraffe language is the one who helps us connect. So this is another skill that I believe it's really important for youth to develop and for us who work with youth to help them develop. And it's vulnerability. Vulnerability, as Brené Brown defines it, is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, adaptability, and change. And all that package, for me, is the package of skills that we should be also focusing on developing. So Conversable in Costa Rica has been working with different groups of youth at risk, and youth in general that can become ambassadors or agents of change in their communities. So with youth at risk, they have been working with the local government in San Jose, the capital. They have been working with youth from at-risk communities who are provided not only with 3D animation and web designing skills, but also with what we call soft skills. So through a training, through a 3-month training, these youngsters have been developing empathy, active listening, assertive communication, positive and collaborative leadership, how to be authentic without sacrificing care for the other person, and some other skills that are helping them to insert themselves into the workforce. And also, some of them have been hired by the government, or some of them have become also entrepreneurs. And the second program that I want to show you is, I don't know if you followed the news, but in Costa Rica recently, they had a really controversial election period. And they had like basically 2 candidates, and both of them were like on opposite sides. One was like super, let's say, liberal, and the other one was leftist and super religious. And the dialogue between both sides was like breaking and like deepening the gap between the societies. So what they did was an empathic intervention in the elections, where they brought people from the civil society, from the private sector, even politicians who were representing both sides, and they had a dialogue, which they called the empathic intervention. And the intention was to add another language, an empathic language, where you just welcome dissenters instead of just fighting dissenters. So yeah, I think that's it.
Oh, nice.
So people don't fall asleep.
Okay, so we still have some minutes if someone from the public wants to make some question. Oh, 2 raised hands. Unbelievable. I love you. Please, could you, Karina, help us with? All right.
So thank you a lot for sharing your stories. I have one question which is really evident for me as a Polish, and you may not yet see it as a problem. But after you create a new generation of innovators and you inspire a lot of young people, do you have any idea how to keep them in the country, how to make them not create startups and sell out immediately or to emigrate outside, but to actually create sustainable companies and create work for their friends at home and actually stay at home, build something for your economy and for your culture?
Really, really nice question. Is it to anyone in special? All right.
Well, I can say something a bit from what we are experiencing. So one, when we are able to create this opportunity for them, most of the youths do not or are not interested in moving out to the country. And that is fundamental, right? Because the kind of environment they enjoy in the country is mostly good for them. There are a number of issues that we can even talk about, ranging from climate to other things. So that's one. Secondly, we are not just doing for only alone as a loner in the ecosystem. We are working with a number of partners to fight for a greater cause for this to happen. That's working or pushing for the right policy for an enabling environment. So one hand, yes, we are creating the jobs. On the other hand, we also engage in policy discussions with other stakeholders to push for laws and for regulations that make it easy for the startups to operate in their own environment. So business registration, access to finance, access to tax exemptions and stuff like that. We are pushing on that aspect because then when you have that also sorted out, then make it easy for the people not to be frustrated, for them to move out. So this is how we are tackling it, but not just alone creating the jobs and forgetting that nothing can happen, but also moving out to collaborate to change other part of the ecosystem.
Definitely, to support the ecosystem instead with laws and everything is one tool that we can have for that. You have any comments on that, Angela or Rosanna?
Yes, I do. In the case of Jamaica, for example, which is the most recent intervention that I've been working on, what we did was we started by giving them an introductory workshop where they are really focused on how to become agents of change. So they become empowered and they see themselves not only as innovators or future entrepreneurs, but also how they have the power of solving the needs of their community. So that's why we say we facilitate the social innovation, not only innovation. And another thing that is also working in this case is that we are having like peer-to-peer mentoring. So the first group that like develops the innovation and has like some seed funding for their innovation, they also become mentors for the next group. So that also helps them feel like part of a network.
Nice.
Well, I'm thinking in the Philippine context, yeah, I think you need a little bit more like an ecological perspective, like you were saying. One is definitely in terms of access to networks and access to capital, aside from having the skills and know-how. But it's also about the level of law. So like in the Philippines, for example, a lot of the wealth is concentrated within 40 families. And there are laws that actually protect this kind of like oligarchic. So unless those change, then you won't really see young people being able to thrive and flourish. And you can't really blame them for wanting to seek better opportunities abroad.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you very much. I would love to hear the second question, please.
So my question is to George. You showed us how you have been working to revise the curricula in vocational and technical schools. Are there also efforts to bring more media literacy, to bring more digital skills, technical skills into secondary schools or even primary schools in Ghana? Also a question to the other speakers, if you'd like to add perspective from your countries.
Well, yes. So Kumasi Hive, we see ourselves as ecosystem pipeline, let's say, engagers. So what we do is it's not just with those who are graduating or graduates or unemployed youth, but also we go a step further to the lower schools. I didn't really talk so much about that, unfortunately, but we have a program that deals with the high schools and even the primary schools. So on the primary and the high schools, we have what we call a prac science lab, where we set up low-cost labs in the schools. And this, we provide computers and all that, and we have curriculum that we run in the school to help the students to both acquire practical skills when it comes to science and also be introduced into digital literacy. One of the things that also we do is this, that we recognize that for us to have a thriving digital economy, the current working class, the people that can afford to buy digital solutions, have to be digital literate. Without that, they can't spend on buying digital solutions. So we work with a number of partners in providing training in that area, whether it's access to digital inclusion technologies, how to use those things, how to use simple platforms like social media for your business and stuff like that. These are things that we do to help get the working class to be digital literate and also then buy into the digital economy and purchase digital solutions that has been developed by the youth. We don't do it alone. We can't do it alone. So we believe in partnership for scaling up. So we do a lot of partners in doing that.
Nice. We still have 7 minutes. If there's one more question in the public, if it's not, I have 2 questions for the girls here. And the first of it is to Rosanna. Rosanna, I've been seeing your job in other opportunities, and do you think your methodology is replicable in other scenarios? And the other question is to Angela. I also do agree that vulnerability is a place for innovation, but more than that, it's also the place for violence and death. So how to find a balance for such a paradoxical scenario? It's my last question for both of you, and thank you very much for your presence.
In terms of replicability, so that's actually a very good question. So far, at least in the national context within the Philippines, we've been able to replicate our model. So we run it at our lab, we've run it in 10 different schools, we've run it in foundations, and we've run it for a variety of kids, no? Kids who go to private school, kids who live in the streets, and it seems to be working well. Then the next question is to see whether it's something that would be replicable abroad or in other contexts. And I think, starting the 3rd quarter of next year onwards, we are going to try to test some models in Mexico, Ecuador, and Singapore and see how that works.
Excellent. And Angela?
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah. You gave me 2 big challenges, huh? Okay. What I would say to your question is, first of all, I think that vulnerability can be seen from different perspectives. When I see vulnerability as the birthplace for innovation, adaptability, and creativity and change, I'm talking about vulnerability as the concept of how to be seen for who you are. And when you say how, the paradox between how vulnerable people, I would say, or communities can also be seen as violent, I would say that it is like a short version of vulnerability, because in that case, vulnerability, it's just how likely you are to be having some income today or becoming a micro-entrepreneur today, and due to an economic crisis, you're going to be falling back into poverty. So it's really interesting because the nonviolent communication movement, what thinks is that despite your income, our nature as human beings is good. You're a good person no matter your context or whatever. And violence comes in rich communities and in like socially or economically more vulnerable communities. Like violence comes when the needs are not being satisfied.
Yeah. Excellent answer.
We only have 5 minutes, so I should just go, grab a beer, and keep talking about vulnerability.
Yes, so I think this is a really great way to finish this panel. So if someone has any more questions, there's a 5 minutes poster over my face. And I think 5 minutes is enough to grab a beer. So thank you very much.
Thank you.